Hi guys, it's Claire Manning here from Thirsty Brush, and I'm here back with another card making tutorial for you. Today we're going to do some stamping using this bright border stamp set, one of the first ones we ever released. We'll die cut as well, and then we'll do some colouring with some water-based pens. So just to show you what I'm starting off with, a 5x7 card blank, piece of card that's slightly smaller, and another one for my stamping, which is A5. So let's crack on and do the crafting. I'll do the stamping first, and I'm just going to stamp in black the large of the borders, but you get all these other bits and pieces that we'll use some of the decoupage pieces as well, and we'll try and do them in a different way than just layering them over the top. So I'm taking my my A5 size piece of card, holding that down with my magnets, and I'm going to stamp that large border. And because I'm using water-based pens today, I'm going to use a VersaFine ink, which won't smudge then when I'm using pens and water. And then I'm going to use, like I said, some of these smaller flowers. I'm just checking which ones I've got the dies for in the packet. So I'll use these two, and let's stamp those out just in black today. So we've done tons of embossing lately, or greys, or water, no line watercolouring and all that. So I'm just going back to basics with just some black and some colour on there. So sometimes the simplest things are the most effective. So I'm using my stamping tool here, my Eureka. You could use blocks as well, but the main border is quite a large stamp because it gives you that kind of recess for your sentiments to go inside. So I've just stamped out those little ones a few times, so I've got lots of them, and I'm going to show you how to use those in the design. So now I need to add some colour, and I tend to colour my stamped images before die cutting because I find I can move my paper around easier, whereas the images are obviously smaller once they're die cut. So just whatever you find easiest for you. So I've got a small brush, this is a size 4, varying different colours, and you've probably seen me do this technique a million times, but if you are new to us or the channel, so what I do is put some colour at the base of each petal on the flower, very, very simply. And these are a brush style pen, but this works with any pens that are water based. And then I just wet my brush, go in with a little bit more water there. I think you'll see me dip my brush again in a moment because I didn't quite have enough water, but it just allows you to blend out that colour, so you get really concentrated colour at the base of the petal, and then it kind of fades out to that lovely watercolour look without you having to actually paint using watercolour pans or anything like that. You just plonk a bit of colour on with your pen and blend it out with a bit of water. It's really, really easy. It just gives you that little bit of light and shade. So just work round the rest of the image, varying my colours. That I've kind of got a rainbow kind of palette going on here with the pens. So I sped this bit up because it's exactly the same technique. Doesn't matter which area of your image you're colouring, it's still more colour at the base of the petal or a leaf or the area that you want to colour, and then blend out with your brush really, really easily. So I've sped this up, but it probably took me about 15 minutes maybe to colour this image in, and it's got lots of little bits, so think about larger images that you might have for your stamps, it can be even quicker. But because I kept changing colours and messing about trying to do that and decide which colours that I wanted, it took me that little bit longer. So there's tons of other videos on my channel as well. If you have a look in the playlists, different colouring techniques, alcohol markers, watercolour paints. I did an acrylic painting the other day, so I'm just trying to mix it up for you guys depending on what you've got in your stash already or what you want to learn a little bit more about. But you'll notice that I prefer kind of really easy, simple techniques where you can get something effective with not that much time and very little skill really. It's just about a bit of practice sometimes with the pens or the paints or whatever it is that you've got, trying different types of cardstock, different types of ink, and then you'll find exactly what works for you. So while I'm here, lots of you have been asking when I'm on Create and Craft next. So we have a new stamp and die release especially for our second birthday in August. So look out on our social medias later this week. I will be doing an announcement on the 31st of July telling you when I will show you all the new products that are going to be in the shows and what the dates and the times of those shows will be. So do keep an eye on that. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Pintrest, and then obviously here on YouTube. And we also I do a live show on a Thursday and a Sunday from the Stamps by Me studio when I go up and see Tony Darrett there. So tons of inspiration and ideas for you, hopefully. I went back in on that purple flower at the top and just added a bit more colour. It was just not quite bright enough for me. So again, with these water-based ones, it's really easy to be able to do that. Once it's dry, you can just add another layer of colour if you want to, or even blend two colours into each other. So just got to go in with these extra little flowers now. And again, I'm thinking about mixing them up and what colours I haven't used yet. Trying to get an even spread of, say, if I've got a red large, I'll have a red small one, or vice versa. So you just get an even spread of colour, and then hopefully when we put it all together, you'll get a really nice rainbow effect where it won't be too heavy on one colour area in one part of the card. It'll be a nice even split. Do let me know what you think of my videos. Give me a comment, thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'm open to ideas if you want me to show a particular one of the Thirsty Brush designs, stamps or dies, stencils, that kind of thing. I'm quite happy to record a video on it and add it to my list. I've got lots and lots of recordings in my mind and on paper ready to do for you guys based on what you tell me that you like to see. Just that last one, just going in with a pink. And there we go, a little bit of water to blend. So that's all done now. So before you die cut, so you don't get any smudging, because we've used quite a lot of water on our brush. Not as much as you would for a background, but you know, it's more than a damp brush to get this look. So give it a dry off with your heat gun, or leave it to air dry if you've got other things to do. And then we're going to have a look at the dies that come with this set now. So you get an outline die for the main border, an inner, get a liquid matte layer that we're not going to use today, but it is there. It's really nice for a 5x7 card. And then I'm just going to hold them in place with a bit of tape. And I very often do these types of dies in two separate pieces for you, so you can choose when you want to take out the middle of that border, for example, or you might want to leave it in and stamp onto it. I'm going to take it out today because I'm going to show you how to put your sentiment inside where it looks like it's set back a little bit onto your background. But do keep hold of these extra pieces because they're really handy to use for other sentiments. And make a quick card. So that's our border with the middle cut out, and then all these smaller flowers, just take those out, and then obviously I'm going to have to go back in and die cut those again on a separate pass on my machine. But once you've got all those ready, you just need to make a background. So I'm using a Distress Oxide here in Cracked Pistachio, and my Stamps by Me blending brush, just using the flat one. And it's going to be quite a light wash, so I'm just taking off any excess ink on the side of my piece of paper, and I'm working from the middle of my card and I want it to just fade out towards the edges, but have enough there that when you layer on that border you can still see it kind of just bursting out from the edges. So I just tend to keep it moving around and just blend it out as evenly as you can and lightly to the edge. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to add a bit of water as well for texture, but you can see there once I layer that on, that's going to give a nice effect that this colour is just fading out from the middle to the edge of our card. These brushes are great for this kind of effect where you just want a really nice kind of subtle blend, but you can build it up. So I'm going to add some kind of faux texture, if you like, by spraying a little shimmer spray, and that will give us some very small kind of dots and texture look, and a tiny bit of shimmer. And then I want to add some more droplets, even larger, so I'm just flicking them with my fingers. And that's just going to give variation to that water splashes that we've done. So you've kind of got the fine from the mist and then larger ones that I'm just blotting away with some tissue. Not quite there yet, so I'm just going to add a few more. Obviously some of them will get covered by the die cuts anyway, but I want it to be that wherever it is seen, it's a nice variation of dots and splashes. There we go, I think I'm happy with that. So just dry that off as well, and it's important to get this really dry because I'm going to heat emboss the sentiment onto this piece. So obviously if it's slightly damp, it's going to stick, your embossing powder is going to stick where you don't want it. So just roughly, I'm just holding the border down, I haven't stuck it, I just held it there so I can make sure that I centralise my sentiment. Pop on some anti-static powder. Again, this will just take out any last tiny bit of moisture. Do make sure your card is really dry first, but if you have missed just an odd spot, that anti-static powder will pick that up for you and give you a really nice crisp image then for your sentiment. Using our Gold Digger luminosity powder for the sentiment. And then just heat set that. So you could, if you haven't got this particular stamp set, although I think there's a few still left on our website, you could use any of our kind of reef, border, there's lots of like circular heart shaped stamp sets that we did very early on, that you could easily take the middle out and get this same look, and then use the extra pieces that I'm going to actually tuck behind. So they were designed in a way that you could decoupage them up, but you can easily use them to tuck behind and make your border even bigger as well. So I'll show you that now. Just laying my background onto my card ready. Just using some double-sided tape for this, just to keep it flat. Go, and then if I get my border, and then we're going to put the border on with some foam pads to lift it up. Don't put your foam pads too close to the edge of the border where the design is, because this is where you're going to be able to tuck in those extra flowers. So I'm just putting them around the kind of cutout or recess part. And then stick that over, making sure your sentiment's nice and centralised. So that gives a really kind of nice setback to your sentiment, and all that lovely green popping out from the edge. It's like a turquoise, isn't it? It just looks green on the camera here, but Cracked Pistachio is like a lovely, I don't know, sea green, turquoisey, not quite teal, it's too light for a teal. And then I'm just going to use some wet glue now. First of all, deciding where I want my extra flowers to go. This is the bit that took me ages to decide. You'll see I'll speed it up now, and I moved them around about 10 times, and I think even when I decided to glue them on, I still moved them slightly. So it's like when you put sequins on, isn't it? And you spend just as much time putting your sequins on your card as you do making the card in the first place. So I think I'm there, and I think I've decided. So it's now just a case of gluing those down. So just using my wet glue, I'm using pin flare, but whatever you want here, but no foam pads because we're going to tuck them behind the image, the main border image, which is already raised. So it's really easy then to just tuck them in as long as you haven't put your foam pads too close to the edge. And there we go. So it's just, the border is beautiful by itself, but just adding all those extra little flowers really makes a difference. So I hope you enjoyed that. Do give the video a thumbs up, and while you're here, check out my other videos and other playlists, and I will see you next time.